Agency at 1:32. Can you please conduct the roll call, clerk?
Director Robinson.
I'm here.
Director Cardoza.
Here.
Director White.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
Vice Chair Crane.
Present.
Chair Brown.
Here. I almost answered for Brandy again. Okay. Commissioner Cardoza, or Director Cardoza, why don't you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 3 on our agenda, and these are consent items, and it's approval of the minutes from the September 13th, 2018 meeting. And I do have some corrections. I don't know if anyone else does. Okay. Clerk, on the first page under Pledge of Allegiance, Don Seymour is Seymour. And then the next item would be on the second page of the minutes, and that would be under item 6B. It says board action, and I think seat needs to be added. Ordered that Mr. Kintod shall be appointed to the Russian River Flood Control seat, but on each one of those, I think seats should be added. Oh, okay, you're right. Sorry about that. That is very true. So Kintod would be Upper Russian River Water Agency, and then Tyler would be Russian River Flood Control. Got it. Glad you caught that. Didn't get that one. So anything else on the minutes? Do I have a motion with the corrections? Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected and a second. Will you please call the roll call?
Director Robinson.
Abstain.
Director Cardoza.
Aye.
Director White.
Aye.
Director Brown. Director Vice Chair Crane.
Abstain.
Chair Brown.
Yes. It passes.
Passes.
All righty, moving on to item 4, staff updates.
Sarah DeCat, Mendocino County. Just a quick update. Today we did have the first meeting of the Technical Advisory Committee, and that went well. Larry Walker and Associates was here, and we presented, and we got some good feedback. So you'll also be hearing more information to come at in meetings in 2019, reporting out from the TAC. So I just want to let you know the first meeting happened today, and it went well. That is the only update I have right now, and the rest will come later on the agenda.
All righty, thank you so very much. Next, we'll move on to item 5, and this is for public comments on items not on the agenda. If there's anyone that would like to speak, please come forward, state your name for the record. Seeing no one coming forward under public comment, let's move on to item 6, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding the development of components of the Ukiah Valley Groundwater Sustainability Plan. Staff, will you please introduce it?
Sarah DeCat, Mendocino County. We have our team from Larry Walker and Associates here today, and they're going to go over some components of the GSP and some items in draft and give you an update. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the Larry Walker team. microphone. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, so we'll go very quickly through. Oh, sorry. I'm Laura Foglia from Larry Walker Associates. You're right. And so we will just take you through some of the key points on the communication plan that we sent out last week. And we just want to hear from you. Doesn't matter if you didn't have time to go through it, but if you did, if you have comments, and if you want us to change something. So, it's not going. Okay. So it's really the key messages that we have today, and we are trying to really be effective and just don't give you too much information, only what is really important. We have a summary of the communication plan, the important dates and deliverables for 2019, so you can kind of plan ahead and you know what's coming and when. So that's hopefully this will make everybody's life easier. Obviously, we have already kind of a calendar for 2020 and 2021, but we would rather move step by step. And then a couple of information about the draft of the data management systems. We started the discussion this morning with the TAC, but it's really just a draft, so I'll tell you what is happening there. So in the communication plan, we try to summarize which are the key point and who is going to be involved in this communication and how we want to reach out. So we want to be able to involve all the beneficial users and be sure that we gather the concerns from everybody, suggestions from everybody. This is also why in these days we decided to come out and have personal interviews. We kind of figure out, and yesterday we had a great day, that it's an incredible resource for us to really understand the system. And without your suggestion on what's important, we don't live here. So I totally understand that if you live here, you have a different perspective and different things that can be important. So it's good for us to get all the possible feedback from you, and this is going to really drive the decision-making process. So we want to have a decision-making process that really take into account all the inputs that we can get from you, and this is basically our main goal. Really be clear on our communication, talk as much as we can with the people that are actually involved on different sectors in this area, and just have all of these represented in the final GSP. We hope that involving the stakeholders right away at the beginning of the process will make everything easier. So we don't want to do it in 2 years from now when the plan is almost done. So we really want to do it now. This is basically our decision-making process. We presented it last time. Now it's just finalized. So our goal in all the deliverables that and just the management that we will have in the next year is to try to get the draft deliverables for the TAC something like 3 weeks before a TAC meeting, so that the TAC has time to review. Then there will be a TAC meeting and we will get comments from the TAC. At that point, we will have time for revisions and before sending everything out to the GSA board. And we will try to give also to the GSA board enough time to just familiarize with those deliverables. This is kind of the process. We'll try to stick with that and just be consistent so that you always have at least about 3 weeks for reviewing documents. And this will be mainly for the very critical documents, so that's some others might be like the communication plan. It's kind of an easy type of document. It's not really like one of the technical ones, but the technical ones, we understand that they can require some effort from your side. So we would like to give you enough time to go through them. And can you go from, okay? So we will have different type of communication strategies that are highlighted in the document. And to be very short, we will have a sort of internal communication. That is, with internal communication, we mean all the communication that are happening
between and among the UVB GSA board members, Mendocino County, the TAC, and or other convened committees, and our team. And the external are the communication with other committee with the public. So we will we just highlighted it's kind of a formality that we have to do that. This is kind of one of the pieces of the GSP. So that's how we communicate. We will try to be efficient with you guys in how we communicate and try to not flood you with information at different times, but combine our information in just maybe one email and one document. But that's basically to save you some effort, if possible. So these in the communication plan, basically what we have written there, it's summarized in these little chart and boxes. So we will develop and maintain an updated interest parties list. So you will see that in the communication plan, there are all the names of the parties that are involved in the GSA board and the TAC. So, and this will be maintained. As I said, we already did interviews with the key stakeholders. We will keep reaching out as needed. We would like to hear as much as possible from all the groups. So we will be scheduling in the next weeks some phone interviews, because somebody asked us to just do phone interviews, and that's fine as well. We like the idea of, since we were up here today, to just come a day before and stay one extra day and meet personally, because that's easier. But also phone interviews will be totally fine. And so we know that there will be the regular meetings with the GSA and the TAC, and we will try to use as much as possible whatever tool is easier for sharing data and access to information. It can be a web-based tool that is connected to the database, but we can also keep it simple and just have simple emails and just a streamlined communication. And if we move, oops, one more.
Yeah,
It's here. And this is kind of probably the key one that you have to put in your calendar. Those are the free meetings, the free meetings where we will be presenting key pieces of the GSP next year. So it's gonna be January 10, May 9, and October 10. This doesn't mean that maybe we will not have more meetings, but these are kind of, we try to highlight the key meetings, so that you know that those meetings are going to be probably meetings where decision will be taken, and it's important that you guys will be able to participate. And this also will gives you an idea of when we will be sending out deliverables that you may have to review. And the other meetings in the middle can be scheduled as needed. So if there is some decision that needs to be taken, we can have extra meetings. But everybody's time is it's really limited, and we understand that probably next year will be just more complicated in terms of decision making, because we will go a little bit more into the planning. This first year is gonna be 2019 is gonna be really getting our tool up and running, and once the tool is up and running, we can discuss with you about management scenarios, and then start the discussion of measurable criteria and sustainable criteria, and that will require a little bit more discussion. So, but until when we don't have all the data collected, and all the and the modeling tool kind of running, it's probably better to save your time. That was the thinking about trimming down to 3 key meetings, and then we'll see. And in this, we just included this one, but this is just to show how it is expected to move forward. But you don't need to. This is most likely gonna change, because I cannot expect that we can already predict now what we will present you at the end of 2021. So that's that will kind of is just to give you an idea. And okay, do you have a question about this just this is basically is a summary of the key point of the documents that we sent out last week. The communication plan.
Anyone comments? Anyone from the public that has questions or comment? Seeing no one, I do want to just call attention on page 2 for the member agency alternates. We'll probably have some names, and just so you know, many of us hold elected positions, and sometimes the appointments change after the first of every year when they do reorganization for the new year. So we'll be able to add the alternates. Do you have a list of those, Sarah?
Sarah Duquette, Mendocino County. Yes, I think the only. No, I think we have all of the alternates, which I can add, and then along the lines of what Chair Brown said, for those of you that will be doing reappointments in January, make sure that either you or staff reach out to me if there's going to be any changes to this board.
And then if we move on to page 10, and under public water systems, should City of Ukiah be there? It would be.
Good. It should be.
I think that was it for me. Wait just a minute to see if there's further comments. Okay. And then you are conducting interviews currently, correct, with stakeholders? That includes TAC and agency directors.
Yeah. And
Okay.
As part of those interviews, we're also asking people if there are other people that we should talk to. And
Okay.
so we're actually expanding beyond just the list of board members and TAC members to others in the community that people think it would be a good idea for our team to interact with.
Okay, and just for the public's interest, how, like, if they want to be a part of this process and want to submit their name, would that be to the agency board of directors, or would that be staff, or would it be directly to you?
that's all right.
So if any members of the public would like to participate, they can email our agency email, which is uvbgsa@mendocinocounty.org. We did give Larry Walker and Associates the original list of our stakeholders that participated heavily in the formation process as a starting point. And we are working on starting, we have an existing email notification list, and we're looking at expanding that as well for those that want to either submit their comments or be informed about the progress of this project.
All right.
Okay, so we move forward. Can you just oh, sorry. And so I will just give you a very high-level introduction on what's happening on the data management system and how our GI consultants, which is also in our team, how they are approaching it. And it's good we need to start this task right away because, as you can imagine, is like the data is really one of our key piece of information. So we are deciding how to move forward. We already did a lot of collection. We used the previous report, but it's time to kind of bring all this information together into a system that will work for you guys, and not just for these 3 years, but probably a little bit more long term for the future reporting. So something that is efficient, not too complicated. We really want to give you something that it's what you are looking forward in terms of working in the future and keeping all the data organized for easily reporting to the Department of Water Resources and in the next, also during the implementation phase. And so that's said that the GSP regulation doesn't really provide or enforce any type of specific system. You can decide what you would like to use in terms of software or just approach, but you need to be sure that you need to demonstrate that you develop and you are maintaining a data management system which is capable of storing and reporting the information that are relevant for the GSP development. So this is kind of general if you think about it, but it's really important that that we think about this tool as a long-term tool, because it will be developed now, will be used in 3 years when we're wrapping up the GSP, but then will be used also later. And so the requirement is just that all the monitoring data will be stored in this data management system, following some just following the direction that I just told you from the previous article. And a copy of the data management system of the monitoring data needs to be included in the annual report that needs to be submitted annually to the Department of Water Resources. So this is why we need to create something that is kind of handy, efficient, and not too complicated, because otherwise the reporting might just require too much time also once we are done with the GSP, and that's one of the requirements. And the well information that are used to sorry? Oh, sorry.
I have a question. So it says submitted electronically on forms provided by the department. Have you seen those forms? You know what they look like?
No, I didn't see them yet. I don't know. Are they already complete? Okay.
So we don't even know what that is.
They don't exist yet.
That's something.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yep.
And then this morning there was a lot of talk about is all the data that's used in the development of the report end up having to be public? What was the short answer to that question?
No, we will select which are all the monitoring data, all the data collection that basically we will select our monitoring network, and our monitoring network, which can be CASGEM, supplemented by the new wells that will be drilled, and we can decide that that's what moves forward in terms of the wells that we want to use to demonstrate that you guys are sustainable and that in the future. So we will work with the TAC and GSA for kind of decide, okay, this is the monitoring network that we trust and that we want to, for which we want to publish the results. Obviously, as we discussed at the previous meeting in September, the data that will be provided through DWR funding, those will be public, and that's kind of the requirement. But for the other available data, probably we will just go through a selection. We can decide to use, you have a lot of CASGEM wells, like 42. You can, 42 I think. You can keep just publishing all those data. And that can be part of the process in selecting what we really want to use as our demonstration for sustainability.
This is Tom Grovog with Larry Walker. I think the other part of the discussion we had with the TAC this morning was that all the data that we might collect to help build the modeling tool or to inform us in terms of how the system works doesn't necessarily have to be publicly reported. It's this long-term monitoring network that needs to be established to show over the next 20 years how we're meeting the objectives that your board decides to set. to show sustainability, but all the data that we use in our efforts and in our technical work doesn't necessarily have to be displayed in the same way.
So there is an open door then that private stakeholders who may have data that would be valuable for the investigation could share that without feeling they're putting themselves at risk of some sort of jeopardy by making that data public.
Exactly.
That's
I'm not looking for a promise, just yeah, maybe.
That's our best understanding, and from the discussions that we've had just already about that will be an important issue to work out. How do we get this very valuable information that may be out there, with knowing the sensitivity that private landowners have about putting it into the public domain? So we consider that a process that we need to continue to work on.
That sounds promising.
And I think that's correct, Aaron, that it's only so just we can get more data and then just decide our network, and that's what's gonna be reported every year.
Right, so the idea is that...
Sorry.
Aaron Cuthbertson, Department of Water Resources. So the idea is that you are reporting annually or more frequently data on, for example, groundwater elevation measurements. So you'll have a network of wells that you'll use to determine whether you're continuing towards sustainability. So those will be public. It would be analogous to CASGEM, the CASGEM program. But all of the data that goes into your model, which is a much larger, presumably a much larger set of data, I don't know if that's going to be, like, if someone were to ask, I want to see all the inputs that you put into the model. That's a question I don't know the answer to, whether that would be something that we would probably require it. I don't think it would be necessarily public. DWR would want to see it.
Yeah, it's also true that like these water elevation data will not really... These water elevation data will not really be input for the model. We'll mainly use them to double check that our model is doing well. Mm-hmm. So it's more like a calibration piece of information, is not a real input into the model, because it's so I don't know if that makes things different. You may ask as well if the data that we use for calibration, I don't know if that's something that can happen, or for uncertainty. But it's not gonna be, this type of data we were discussing this morning is mainly gonna help us in understanding if our model is decently representing the system or not.
So I can check into that.
That would be
as well. Yeah.
If you could do that, we'd really be appreciative. Yes.
Yeah, because it looks like there might be more data than what we have right now. And considering that we have really little, it would really change whatever from what we learned this morning and what it looks like it's available out there. Our effort on developing the model would benefit so much from this extra information. And actually, you would benefit as well, because then the model might be a little bit more precise on how we are representing your system and more defendable. So my point is always that the good data, everybody can judge and say, oh, your model is wrong. It's easy to do that. It's really much easier to destroy a model than build a model. But the data are there and numbers. So you cannot be questioned if you have those numbers. And so this is just the outline of how the document with the data management plan will look like, and no need to really go through the details. And I think we will have a better draft, a real draft, by the next meeting, and go through that with the TAC. So we will do our best to understand, to work on the TAC, to understand what is the need, the complexity of the system that you want, and who do you want to have, who should have the capability to access the database if you just want something on a desktop, something on a web. So this is something that we will probably first discuss and agree upon with the TAC, but we'll try to do something that it's, I really would like to create something that it's usable and not just create it and then stay there. Maybe something that can help everybody. And the schedule actually is gonna be slightly different from what it's up here because we discussed this morning. So we will have a draft of the data management plan before Christmas, probably as a Christmas gift on the 24th, just to give a little bit more time to the TAC to review the draft before the next meeting, which is on January 10. And then we will collect the comments from the TAC, incorporate the comments, and move toward a final data management plan. And I think this is pretty much it. So,
Laura, Tom Grovog again, just to add from our discussion at the TAC meeting today, we will, GEI, who's our subcontractor who's working on the data management system, they will put forward information to you in terms of what's kind of the minimum that needs to be done to meet the requirements, and then also augmentations that, options that you might, and show you some of the costs associated with those to help make the decision over the type of system that you want. And so that'll be, you can evaluate in terms of, what we need to get to do the plan, but also going forward. If you want to add bells and whistles on top of the minimum system, then you'll see what those costs are. So that was a point of clarity that we had today, is that's the way so it's hard to tell from that outline exactly what you're getting, but that's the way it'll be framed up in the report that comes out in late December.
Anyone, any further questions on that? Okay. Seeing none, we can go forward. Oh,
okay.
Does the public have any comment? Okay. All righty.
Okay, I think we're pretty much done.
The what? Okay. I think that's it. So we're gonna move on to the last item on our agenda. I think it's the last item. And that would be discussion and possible action, including adoption of the 2019 Board of Directors Master Meeting Calendar. Staff?
Sertica, Mendocino County. So before you have a draft calendar for 2019. We brought this forward to you in November. Right now, there's nothing slated for the December meeting. So if there's nothing that comes forward, it will most likely be canceled. So we wanted to make sure the calendar got to you to look at next year. And we kind of, I followed suit of what we did last year with scheduling a meeting for every month of the year, even though we tend to run meetings about every other month. So all of the meetings for 19 are on there. I will say that the January, May, and was it October are going to be the Larry Walker and Associate meetings. So kind of mark those on your calendar as you build your calendar for this year. We also are planning on having a meeting in January. That one will be an organizational meeting, as well as an update from Larry Walker and Associates. And we will also have some updates regarding our technical services application, which was approved to move on to phase 2. So we'll have more information on phase 2 and what we will be requesting from DWR. So January is going to be a big meeting for the board. So I'm here to answer any questions. Of course, you can always choose to modify it if you want to go to a quarter system. But right now with working on the GSP, we kept it the same, and then as needed, we'll cancel the meetings if there's nothing slated.
I think that's good thinking, because you never know, something may come up in between. And I would rather have a full calendar and then getting information out to everyone if we do decide to cancel, at least a week ahead of time, if not a little bit more.
Sarah Duquette, Mendocino County, we also set the TAC calendar this morning, and so they will be meeting in January, May, and October, and those meetings will also be the same day as these meetings. They'll be in the morning.
9:30?
9.
Oh, 9 a.m. Okay. Vice Chair Crane.
Is there a motion in order?
I think there is, as long as everyone.
Question?
Okay, why don't we have a motion? Can we get a second and then your question?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
So
Miss-
I notice it says meeting dates, the right-hand column after the green vertical line. And February 14th, it says public hearing, while all the others say regular meeting. What does that mean?
That was just an error. But we
So
can
just-
correct that. Yeah, that
so-
was based on last year's calendar, which we had a public hearing.
Okay, so just regular meeting is what should be there.
Good catch.
Okay.
I don't think we need to modify the motion, because that was just, okay.
You might want to just to be neat. We, other meetings usually do that, just to be neat. So modify the motion just with corrections.
Sounds good.
Second.
Okay. All righty, clerk, roll call, please.
Director Robinson,
Aye.
Director Cardoza,
Aye.
Director White,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Aye.
Vice Chair Crane,
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Directors' reports. Do we have any reports from the public? Seeing no one come forward. Neat, clean, quick meeting. This is good. I'll adjourn it for today. Thank you so much.